Alright, so let's help you pick the absolute best name possible for your YouTube channel, because the right name makes all the difference, because it's going to allow you to feel more confident in what you're doing, and it's more importantly, it's going to provide that clarity and alignment between your content and your subscribers. So when someone shows up to your channel, well, they're going to know what they're going to get before they even press play. So a name really is important. So with all that said, let's dive into tip number 1, and really the first direction you can go when choosing a name for your channel, which is as simple as it sounds, and that is using your own name. Now, this one is literally as easy as it sounds, and it's really just using your first name and your last name. So myself, for example, using Adam Erhart and Tony Robbins and Brendan Burchard and Evan Carmichael and Brian Tracy. You get the picture. Now, going with your name, your own personal name, is absolutely fantastic for personal brands. And in fact, if you have a personal brand or your business is built around your own personality and essentially around you, this is pretty much the only option. That said, we will cover some mistakes you want to avoid later on, so make sure to stick around. But if you're a coach or a consultant or an expert or an author or a speaker or a trainer or anybody who really builds their business around their own personality, well, naming your YouTube channel around your own personal brand is going to be the best choice for you. After all, having a YouTube channel is one of the best brand building assets you could possibly hope to have, especially in the realm of personal branding, because nowhere else do you have the opportunity to connect with someone and really get to see their face and hear their voice. And again, next to being in person, it really is the most effective form of communication available to you. Plus, investing in your personal brand and essentially setting yourself up for success by naming your YouTube channel accordingly, well, this is going to serve you for a long time. Whether you choose to start a new project or start a new venture, or even if someday you want to get a job or run a joint venture or partner with somebody, you're still going to have this amazing asset that's been working for you for days, weeks, months, hopefully even years. All right, so the next option is naming your channel after your business name. And again, this one is pretty much just as obvious as naming it after your personal name, but there's a few nuances here for when you want to choose your business name opposed to your personal name. So let's dive into that now. First of all, as a business, if you don't necessarily have one person that you want to put front and center for your brand and really build a personal brand around that person, well, then a business name is going to be fantastic. This is also really valuable if you've got multiple people on your team that you're planning on putting in front of the camera or creating content, because obviously this would be incredibly weird to have it as your personal name and then show all sorts of random people on your channel. It's going to be confusing. People aren't really going to know who's who. Another reason you'd want to choose your business name over your personal name is really depending on if you ever want to really grow the business or essentially build it up to the point that you could sell it or partner with someone else. A personal brand is next to impossible to sell, but a business name really easy to transfer over. So with that considered, why might you still want to choose a personal brand? Well, really, when it comes to marketing and when it comes to building that know, like, and trust factor, it's important to remember that people, they like doing business with people, not necessarily businesses. So by humanizing your brand, by making it more about a person or really just using your name, it's going to make it easier to build that connection, to build that know, like, and trust factor, and to sort of build up an audience a lot quicker than you would if you're kind of a faceless, nameless corporation. All right, so moving right along to our third option and third category, which is to name your YouTube channel after the category that it's in. For example, Binging with Babish is all about cooking, and therefore he's included binging right into the name there. Triathlon Taryn is all about triathlon, and again, just like Binging with Babish, what we've done here is we've got a bit of a hybrid where we're using both the category and the name of the person in the videos. Global Mountain Bike Network is a bit of a mouthful, but it's very obvious in what it's about. It's about mountain biking. The beauty here and the simplicity of going with a category naming convention is it really makes it crystal clear your value proposition, or at the very least, the category that your business is in, allowing people to decide really quickly if this is for them or if it's not. For example, let's say you're in the guitar niche. Well, if you included guitar in your YouTube's channel, you're going to very clearly dictate and say that this is for guitar people. Same thing if you're in the cooking niche and you include cooking in the title, or if you're in the triathlon niche and you include triathlon in the title, or the camera and videography niche and you include filmmaking or video. You get the picture. Now, this third category is one that I actually don't mind too much. My preference obviously being that personal name, because again, people like people rather than businesses. It's just that much easier to build a connection, and it really humanizes your brand. But naming your YouTube channel after the category or a hybrid thereof, still effective, as long as you avoid the following mistakes that we're about to cover now. All right, so the first mistake that I see when I'm doing a channel audit or when I'm walking a client through a new YouTube strategy or telling my students about what to name their channels, essentially it's being a little too clever. Essentially trying to be cute and creative over clear. You always want to prioritize clarity over creativity in pretty much all of your marketing. And this is especially true when it comes to naming a YouTube channel or something that you're really going to hang your sign on and really announce to the world what it is that you're about, what kind of content you're creating. You see, there's a great saying that I absolutely love, which is that clarity equals customers, or in this case, viewers or subscribers. If you're not clear though, and if you're just confusing about your title name or the value proposition of your channel, well, you're not going to attract people because they're not really going to know what to expect, and therefore they're probably just going to go find someone else. Now, does this mean that you have to suck all the fun out of your name completely and have the most boring, bland, dry name ever? Well, of course not, right? But you need to make sure that if you're going to be creative, that it is in alignment and that it's also clear about what it's about. For example, if you're in a niche that has some insider jargon or tech speak or lingo or terms that people outside of the industry may not know, well, that's okay to use because again, be focused on who it is that you're trying to serve. And if they'll understand what you're talking about, that's good enough for me. On the other hand, if nobody knows what you're talking about, you're going to need a new channel name. All right, the next mistake that I frequently see, especially with people that have been around the YouTube game for any length of time, is branding themselves for the short term. Essentially choosing a YouTube channel based on where they're at right now, right here, today in their business, rather than on where they actually want the business to go. Now, this mistake kind of seeps over into the content strategy as well, which makes it that much more fatal. But the reality is that if you're in a current niche or a current market or selling a current service right now with your business and you want to transition or you want to leave the door open to transition in the future, you want to take that into consideration when you're choosing your brand name. Again, this is the beauty of using something like your personal name, which is going to allow you to grow and change and evolve over time, or even your business name if you want to expand into new markets or offer new services. Pretty much never works with a category name though, because if you've got a YouTube channel all about guitars and you want to transition over to talking about painting, that's going to be a pretty awkward jump. I mean, honestly, you're going to probably lose all the subscribers anyway because there's very little overlap, so you'd probably be better off starting a separate channel, but that's another story for another day. The point that I want to make is be long-term thinking. Really strategize about the direction of your business and of your offers and where you want to go when choosing a name, rather than just focusing on the short term and where you're at right now. All right, the next mistake that I see is a bit of a continuation from the last one, and that's essentially hyper niching or not giving yourself enough room to grow. If you've been involved in business or marketing for any length of time, then you know the importance and the power of niching down, really finding your ideal target market, that exact person that loves you, loves what you do, and wants to tell everyone about just how great you are. Well, yes, niching down is important, but on YouTube, it's probably the one exception where I want you to niche down, but I also want to leave yourself a little bit of room for expansion and for growth in order to give your channel a greater likelihood of success. Let me explain. You see, the way that the YouTube algorithm works is that it always does its best, just like the other social media algorithms, to try to show your content to the most relevant person possible. Well, if you niche down so incredibly small, it's going to be hard for YouTube to go out there and find that ideal and perfect person. That's why your content should be a variety of really niche topics, slightly broader topics, and probably pretty decent broad topics kind of chucked on top. There's no magic ratio that works for absolutely every single person, but if you stick with around 30% really niche topics, 30% kind of general, and then 30% broad, you're doing okay. Yeah, I'm aware that works out to 90%, but that gives you about a 10% fudge factor too. Anyway, you do want to be clear with your value proposition and with the market that you're trying to serve, and you do definitely want to find a niche, but make sure not to name your channel that exact hyper micro niche. You may want to take a step or two back, look a little bit broader, and of course your content can be niche down. It's probably going to change and evolve over time as you get feedback from your audience, you dig through your analytics and you see what content performs and what doesn't, but you don't want to build your entire brand or business around a name or around this tiny little obscure part of the market that very few people care about. All right, so now that we have that covered, the next thing you're going to want to do, and the next piece of the puzzle, is to check out the video I have linked up right here on how to start a successful YouTube channel. So make sure to check that out now, and I'll see you in the next episode.